accomplish their own unique goals. However, you know what? Fuck it. We're going to restart, Shane.
You got it.
Previously on the Chaotic Neutral podcast, the gang spread out through the massive city of Bezos to accomplish their unique goals. Kai was doing something mysterious with an alchemy shop that required some very personal things. Bayard was helping the poor and feeding the hungry. Bert was doing some research into long-lost curses and mysterious civilizations, while Kiki was getting her rocks off by slaughtering pompous nobles. However, Kai's activities in the town square have caught up to him as two guards caught him doing lewd and lascivious things, and now they want to capture him. Will he get caught, or will he escape? And what happens to the rest of the crew? Find out in this week's episode of the Chaotic Neutral Podcast. I am your Dungeon Master, Caleb, and I am joined tonight by Will.
Hi, I play Bayard.
And Amy.
Yo, I play Kiki.
And Shane.
Bert's looking to get a cat to go along with his drinking and Funimation subscription.
And finally, David.
I didn't do it. Kai.
Oh, excuse me, sir. I think you very much did. The guard says as you scramble up the building. So yeah, last time, to give a more thorough recap, basically was just the characters RPing, getting themselves situated in the city. Kai is doing some mysterious project that involves, at the very start, giving over a ton of bodily fluids to this crazy gnome. Kiki murdered a noble on a busy street, and it's sort of the big mystery right now. Bert acquainted himself with a sort of a research assistant who's a tabaxi, which is kind of like a cat person. And Bayard has been isolated on his own, well, at least isolated from this group at the Temple of Amathion, basically trying to do the right thing, which doesn't always gel with what these guys want to do.
Nah.
I'm a good guy. I'm going to stay a good guy for now.
But back to Kai.
You do you.
Yeah.
So Kai was in a part of the city called Academy Square, where the Imperial Magic Academy has sort of its offices, and there are several things that sort of service the Academy's needs. So there are alchemy shops and enchanting shops and sort of supply shops. No books, though, oddly enough. And the buildings themselves, they tend to have very few things jutting out. And you can roll an insight on that if you want, Kai.
Okay. I wrote a 19.
I suppose I should pull up my chat. Are you just having it set to roll all rolls as if you have advantage for the sake of the insight for the macro?
It's advantage, disadvantage, whatever.
Okay. But if you don't, we just take the first one.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry,
So-
listeners, if Shane hasn't cut that off. Like that is a straight up just roll 20 trivia thing. It's nothing to do with anything else. Okay, so yeah, with a 19, you figure that part of the reason these buildings are so plain is that this is an area of alchemical and enchanting experimentation, and fires are common. So if your building doesn't have a lot of little things to catch fire, you're probably a little bit safer. That's also, most of them are made of stone or brick. So as a result, you have fewer regular handholds and footholds to use to climb, but you do have sort of the irregular nature of stone and brick. So go ahead and roll me a climb check.
No climb check needed. I can run up walls.
Kai does what he wants.
He hands them a piece of paper. Kai does what he wants.
That's the monk ability, right?
I'm looking. It's not. It's not that I disbelieve you. It's that I disbelieve the writers of this book.
He grabs himself in his hand, pulls off onto the wall, and it splatters into a pattern. Kai does what he wants.
At 9th level, you gain the ability to move along vertical surfaces and across liquids on your turn without falling during the move. So, yeah. Kai just runs up the wall. And you hear a moment of shock and amazement, and then the thwing of a bow firing.
Oh, goody.
These guys are after blood. Oh, tell me you can grab it and throw it back at him.
Yep. Oh!
It's going to be a 19 to hit.
Okay, hold on. What is that?
Deflect missiles.
Yes.
Let me look that up. I should have just left it open to Monk, because that's the thing I refer to the most in this book when we're playing the podcast.
1d10 plus dex plus level.
Yeah, that sounds right. Your way of the open hand.
Yeah.
Okay. No, you get it at 3rd level? Fuck. So you're hit by a ranged weapon attack. When you do so, the damage you take from the attack is reduced by 1d10 plus your dex modifier plus your monk level. So, the longbow's a d8, which I don't have out.
I catch it and throw it back.
Holy shit. Guys,
attack.
I don't know if you've ever played a game where you get above level 10, but shit starts to get crazy.
28
That'll hit him.
or 13 damage.
Okay.
He's become Keanu Reeves.
He staggers, and he looks at his buddy, and he goes, "Did you just shoot me?" He goes, "No, I shot him," and he threw it back. We better get the whole guard on this. You better stop if you know what's good for you. What do you do? I know it's hard to take guards seriously with that accent.
Yes.
And so this is my headcanon, is that they don't actually sound like that, but because you guys hold no respect for any city guards whatsoever, that's how you hear them.
His Cockney moron.
I've been playing a lot of Assassin's Creed. So, I'm gonna run along the rooftops and attempt to hide.
Okay, roll me an
Jump with some-
acrobatics check.
Into some hay.
Okay. Acrobatics.
You know what it really is I played a lot of Thief, and so to me every town guard is like one of the guards in Thief.
24.
Okay, you leap across buildings, no problem. You actually find that there's... it seems a lot of these people, especially alchemists, seem to have set up little gardens on these rooftops. Do you try to avoid trampling all over the gardens?
Yes.
Okay. So with the 24, you're totally able to do that. So yeah. So like you climb up the roof of one, and you find yourself in what seems to be an open air storage unit for maybe an enchanting shop. I don't know. But you sort of duck and weave through there, and you leap across to the next building, almost right square into a patch of herbs of some description. But the last second, you manage to correct and land right next to it, and then you sort of vault and catapult and cartwheel your way from aisle to aisle across this rooftop herbarium, and then across to the next building where you're able to duck down and try to hide. Roll me a hide check, stealth, for 5th edition.
Oh, crap. That would be
And you jump into what looks like it should be like a gazebo or whatever, but it's actually a skylight, and you plummet down and land on top of this table. in the middle of the local watch dining hall.
Kick their asses.
And sort of plain gruel and butter and potatoes and whatever splatter out all over these guards who are looking very shocked. And go ahead and roll me an initiative.
Ah, great.
At this point, are you still hard?
Well, no, he just finished, right? So
Well, mine lasts for a little while, so I don't know.
11.
well, that still beats their 1. So they're so shocked that they're like, what? And they're like looking at each other and looking up and looking at you, like just completely overcome with disbelief of what just happened. So you get first move.
I spent a key point and jumped back through the window.
Okay. Roll me an acrobatics check.
$27.
Okay, you do that.
It's like, oops.
So, Amy, no, Shane, high or low?
Low.
Okay. So Kai, you leap back up onto the roof, and you continue your run pell-mell. Sort of which direction are you going? So you were on the northeastern end of the, or I'm sorry, the Academy Square is sort of on the corner of the Path of Glory and Aurelius Way. Looking at the map, it's right here.
Okay.
You were probably in sort of the northeast corner of the square, and you've sort of continued running northeast towards where the Capitoline Hill falls down into the valley between it and the lake called the Suwura. So just sort of, what's your plan?
Go on towards the fish market.
Okay. Are you planning to stay rooftops from there? Or are you going to try to get on the streets?
Unless I see like a pile of hay or...
Okay. So, roll me another acrobatics check.
Okay. Third time's a charm. 13.
It's not nearly graceful. I think that Kai is probably in panic mode at this point after having like dropped down and immediately jumped back up. So he's just going all out. He's not worried about hiding. He's not worried about finesse. And there will be stories told about this day as Kai like leaps across right into the middle of someone's tea party and like up in, it's like the Sandlot. Like you jump on the table and you're running along. You jump over to the next hut and it seems that this guy's keeping fucking chickens on his roof and you disturb them and there's feathers flying everywhere. This is midday, so Bert is probably inside the library at this point, so he does not get an opportunity to look out the window and see this disturbance moving down the hill. But Kai, you do manage to avoid like tripping up or falling or anything until you reach the fish market, which is suddenly the buildings just stop and there's this wide open square in front of you with all sorts of stalls selling various fishes. The smell assaults your nostrils, and you can hear just the hubbub of, hundreds of people calling out, trying to sell their wares, people trying to buy their fish. What do you do at this point?
I jump down and try to act casual.
Okay, roll me an acrobatics and a deception.
Does your robe have a collar that you can straighten as you do that?
23.
Okay.
And deception. Oops. Oh crap. 7.
Okay. So, this is Kai. So, Kai jumps. He doesn't even bother with any subterfuge. He doesn't go over to the alley and try to like slide down a gutter or anything. He
goes over to a fish market and picks up a fish and starts talking to it.
I like that. So he just business-like, as if there's nothing weird about it in the world, jumps off of this probably 2-3 story building straight down onto the ground in the middle of a crowd. He does find a clear space though. Walks straight over to a fish stall, picks up a fish and starts talking at it. The people around him the fishmonger in particular has their back turned, doesn't even notice this. You do see, sort of patrolling the edge of the market, there's a city watchman who takes note of your bizarre behavior and is ambling his way over towards you.
I put the fish down and just start whistling, walking away.
Okay. Roll me a perception.
$19.
Okay. All right. Shane, high or low?
Don't screw me, don't screw me.
Oh. Low. Is it gonna hold?
So you're sort of whistling and walking along, and you're doing your best not to like turn right around or to break into another run. And you're about at the edge of the market, and you can hear, because no one else around here is necessarily wearing the burnished chainmail of these, or no, it'd be more like scale mail of these guards. And you can hear the clink of the scale mail getting closer and closer, and him sort of pushing people aside and being very polite. And just as it seems that he's about to catch up to you and reach out and tap you on the shoulder, there's a disturbance from just off to his right, and you hear him turn and go, "Hey, you didn't pay for that! Get back here!" And he goes to run off and catch a moppet.
Oh my god. But he walked away with the fish.
And you find yourself at the base of the Bridge of Eustace that would take you over to Galata. Or you're also at the base of Bookbinder Street as it winds back up towards the Capitoline Hill. So yeah, that takes care of the
That's
first
my morning.
the first day. So the next day, I think Bayard had sort of resolved to go track down Kiki.
I did, yes.
Okay.
Well, at least the gang and
Yeah.
I guess you said yes. Specifically, Kiki had. I knew that she had cash. Some.
So, so yeah, I'm gonna say the next. Would you have set out like morning, afternoon, midday?
Well, I imagine whatever chores they had for me, unless they have
The Temple of
tasked me with this.
Temple of Amathion's pretty laid back. The meal that's your primary duty of providing the bread and ale to the poor tends to happen a little after midday. Other than that, you sort of you're kind of expected to attend the various ceremonies and rituals, but you're not in charge of leading them. So if you miss them, it's not that big of a deal.
No one's gonna notice me.
As you might imagine, it's not so much that they don't notice you, but it's they're a religion based around brewing, and brewing in and of itself is a task that takes patience, and it takes you can't be a control freak and really.
True, it's more of an art form than it is a science.
And so as a rule, this particular temple and religion attracts people who are a little more flexible, a little more laid back. So they understand that sometimes shit happens and you need to go take care of shit. As long as you're holding up your end of what you're supposed to, which in this case is that daily meal, they don't really care.
Cool. So I could spend the morning at least scoping out this area that I was told by the little moppet,
Okay.
looking for the companions that I came with.
So, how do you travel there?
Well, I assume on foot.
Let
Oh,
me
you
be
mean
more
like you
specific. Like, do you take the Galatian road up to the dam and cross over that way? Do you go down to the bridge? Do you go around the outside of the lake?
Well, I would imagine, since I don't know much about this place, and I've spent most of my time at the temple and that one bar with that scoundrel. I gotta go talk to that man still.
Yeah, with a hammer.
I would go whatever they exactly. I would go wherever anyone from the temple would suggest. How the quickest way to get there? Because I'm not looking to waste time on this. I now have a task ahead of me as well.
Aldaris will say, have you gained permission to enter that part of the city?
I was not aware that I needed permission to go anywhere.
He goes, that reminds me, when you arrived, did you tell the harbor master that you were living here?
I did.
Okay. So I would just suggest you go to the harbor master and ask him for a passport into Bezos proper.
Okay.
And you just tell him you have temple business.
Excellent. Thank you. I
He
appreciate
goes,
it.
by the way, you should probably take this with you, just in case. You might not need it, but just in case. And he gives you sort of a little tiny cask of sort of their harvest ale.
Cask of Harvest Ale. Awesome. Okay, so I will gladly accept that and thank him for
So
thank you for the assistance and head to the harbor master.
so what's Bayard's kit look like at this point?
My
Because
brewing kit?
because I'm sure it can't be what I picture, which is sort of like almost like humble friar's robes with I picture a backpack, keg, and a walking stick. And I
Well,
know that cannot possibly be correct.
So my other mini from the other game is what you pictured. I essentially imagined him. I mean, I have chainmail, so the chainmail underneath. I pictured more of one of those like Templar outfits almost, where it's kind of like that just drapery that goes over.
The tabard.
Yeah, there you go. With kind of like the holy symbol, the
Okay.
bunched of wheat, fashion to it, and boots and gloves. I'm
Okay.
dressed for battle. This is,
And that's why I was
fight-
saying.
Yeah, no, yeah. I'm not like a dressed down monk. I mean, I assume while I'm doing my daily tasks, I don't want to threaten anybody, so I would put on a more humble garment. But if I'm walking around, I'm ready for a fight.
Okay. So yeah, so you walk down the Galatian road, and this is one of the busier roads. It is the road that fronts the docks and the river. Thank you, Amy.
Good picture.
Sorry, I posted a picture of the Grail
chose
Guard or the
poorly.
Grail Knight from Indiana Jones because that's what I pictured.
I think the only difference is that Bayard is a dwarf, so he'd be shorter with a bigger beard.
Yeah, much
Poorly.
thicker beard, but yeah, pretty close.
But so this road is so heavily trafficked because there are like a lot of businesses along it. No one really pays you any mind. There are a few people that kind of eye your keg, and you do get a few moppets that kind of look, and Kinku too, that are kind of looking at your purse and sort of trying to gauge their chances. But your weapon and your chainmail and the fact that they're clearly not decorative seem to dissuade all of these people. You finally make your way down to the harbor master's office, passing the Laughing Dwarf on your left. And inside is that same elven clerk with the circular spectacles perched on the very end of his nose. And he looks down his nose at you through them and says, "Can I help you, sir?"
Yes, I'm staying at the Temple of Amathion, and I need passage into the city, the prettier city, as I understand.
I see. Did you register with the harbor master's office upon your arrival?
I did.
Your name, please.
Name's Bayard Ironmug.
One moment, and he flips over to this massive tome and starts flipping through and kind of runs his finger down. He goes, "You're staying at the Temple of Amathion. What business do you have in Bezos proper?
Temple business.
And what parts of the city will you need access to?"
I'm looking specifically for. I can't read that now. Near the Alexis Way.
Okay. No access to the library or the temple or the Senate?
I don't believe it'll be taking me that way, but as much access as possible.
I'll give you general access to the city. You will not have access to any of the particular grounds. Do not attempt to go there.
Sorry, you cut on that one.
Oh. He said, I will give you access to the city in general. You'll have liberty to travel the streets until sunset tonight. Do not try to enter the Senate House, the Imperial Library, the Temple of Wisdom, or the Imperial Palace. Here you go. And he hands you a crystal with a couple runes etched on it that, when you take it, sort of flare up and then die down.
Excellent. Thank you, my good man. Have you, by chance, been by the Temple of Amathion?
I have not.
Oh, I highly recommend taking a service there.
I'll keep that in mind. Thank you.
Just to persuade you, and I pull out that cask he had and offer him a drink.
And what's your intention here? This is Caleb, not the guy.
It is simply my intention is to get him to visit the temple.
Okay.
Not bribing him for any other reason.
He will accept the ale, and he'll say thank you. You think that you haven't convinced him to go visit the temple, but you've earned some brownie points.
Excellent.
With this particular
Thank you,
clerk.
May Theon bless you.
Emperor smile upon you.
And
that is
I'll take off.
Just FYI, the Emperor's smile upon you is sort of a standard benediction from imperial officials.
Okay.
Because there is a cult to the Emperor. He is sort of considered a god, a living god.
Oh, okay.
Like a pharaoh or something.
Yeah, straight up Roman Emperor. Even though this is based on Byzantine Rome, which is actually Christian, but we're not even going to get into that. Because Sol Invictus was still palling around for long after Roman emperors were supposedly Christians. Anyways, so.
Oh, God.
History. Jeez. So anyways, so you head on from here. The best route to get to where that Moppet pointed you to would be to cross the Bridge of Eustace, head up Bookbinder Street, and then down either Alexius Way or Heraclius Way.
Okay.
Regardless of which way you take, I mean, assuming you're not going up to the lake or whatever. The Bridge of Eustace is this sort of graceful arching bridge that is actually, it arches high enough up. It's kind of a bit of a climb, really. It arches high enough up that ships with masts can actually get under it, and you can see that the docks extend to both sides of it. The bridge itself is broad enough for 4 carriages to travel abreast, and the whole thing is lined with various stern-looking humans in various armors and various poses of, depending on the what's the word I'm looking for? The demeanor. Depending on the sort of personality of each particular emperor depicted here, they might be in different poses. So an emperor who's known for being very just might be in long robes and seem very serene and placid. An emperor who's known as a conqueror might have his sword out looking like he's about to lead a charge. But there are all these statues, they're all gold, and they sort of line this whole bridge. When you reach the far end of the bridge, you do pass through a guard checkpoint where they check your passport to make sure that you're allowed to be on this side of the river and you're not just some filthy Galatian trash. And then they wish you a good day. Bookbinder Street, as you head up it winds up the side of this almost cliff face, and below you see shops and tanneries and sort of, I want to say, journeyman level shops. So that's not the word I'm looking for. I'm looking for like craftsmen who live in their shops. That's what seems to take up the area between Bookbinder Street and the lake, in that triangle, bordered on the third side by the Silver Sword. You do get some amazing views of the city with Galatia and the Subura spread out below you. And you finally reach the top of the hill, and you notice that this is a much different city than the city that you started out when you left the temple. Sorry, I'm 3 whiskeys in, so I'm starting to forget my words.
All right. It's okay. Catch up.
So would Bayard be around the time when I'd be there?
This is the following day.
Following day. Okay.
Yeah, so your adventure was the previous day, and actually, Bayard, as you are traveling up Bookbinder Street, you notice that. Well, go and roll me a perception to see if you would notice this.
Oh, I'm gonna notice this. That would be a 22.
Yeah, so being a man of the people, in tune with the community, you do tend to observe sort of how the regular people are living their lives. And you notice that all the rooftops along this street, people seem to be up there tidying up some sort of mess.
It's a shame.
So you head down either Alexius or Heraclius Way, whichever you choose. These streets are sort of bordered by sort of grand. I don't want to say grand estates, because there are a lot of people who live here, but these are legitimate houses with yards. This is, which for our 21st century society, it's like, oh, you're in the burbs. But inside a medieval walled city, having any land that you haven't built something on that's just there for you to enjoy some land is kind of a big deal.
That's wealthy right there.
Exactly, and that's the neighborhood you're in.
Okay.
And but now you're at the limit of the Moppet's instructions, and I'm going to say at this point it's probably about 10 a.m.
Okay.
As Bayard is wandering around the Noble District, we're going to see what Kiki's been doing with her morning and the previous afternoon.
Fozzie's got to go for his morning walk.
Okay. How do you go about this? Like, where do you take him?
We leave the house. We go to the fancy part of town.
You're in the fancy part of town.
We continue to stay in the fancy part of town.
So do you just do a loop from, like, around Wall Road, which borders the wall, as you might imagine, like up along Imperator's Lane, down the Path of Glory?
Yeah,
Okay.
you know, up and down the streets.
Just trying to get attention and looks.
Yeah, just pissing off the neighbors.
You've only been here 3 days, and you can already tell that people are really pissed off at you.
I bring a doggy bag.
God, you're gonna need more than a doggy bag.
I
You're
clean
gonna need a
up.
fucking duffel bag.
You've been stopped no fewer than 4 occasions by city watchmen who want to see the papers on that animal. Are you riding him or walking him?
No, I'm walking him.
Okay.
I only ride him into battle, Caleb.
Is he on a leash? Like, do you
Yes,
do the
but
whole
who's
pet thing?
holding on to that?
Okay.
It's in his own mouth.
He's walking himself.
Yeah. You know what? I have the harness on. He's walking me.
So,
Perfect.
So you're about a block away from your house. You've just turned onto Wall Road. And you're heading up towards Alexius Way. And for the 5th time since you've moved into this house, the city watchman sort of approaches you and says,
Jesus Christ, man! Like,
"Excuse me, little one. Do you have papers for that beast?"
I swear to God, I'm gonna shove these papers up here. We've walked a block from my house, and 5 of you assholes have stopped.
Sorry, Amy. I was unclear. That's been over the last 3 days that 4
the
others
last
have
3
stopped.
days?
Yeah, this is the first
Still.
today.
Still, I'm sick of this shit. You know I live down the street. You know I take him for a walk. What the fuck?
Well, I don't know. I've just been reposted to this area.
I'm sorry. Do none of you talk to each other? Is there any other owl bears in the area? Any?
Ma'am, I do not appreciate the tone in which you're speaking to a member of the City Watch.
Sweetheart. I'm gonna say this once. I can't. me and my friend here. His name's Fozzie. We're gonna go for a stroll. And we're gonna be left alone. If you guys can't figure out how to leave us alone, we're gonna have a problem. Here are my papers. See my papers, my papers. We're good to go. Good day.
He just sort of stands there. You get the sense he's really upset, but he doesn't have any like legal grounds on which to detain you or do anything to you. And so as you walk away, he sort of does this half-hearted, "Enjoy your walk, miss."
I do this really exaggerated, like, curtsy bow thing. And Fozzie does too. I throw some, like, food on the ground and he, like, goes down and does too. Where is the police station? Or whatever.
They have posts throughout the city in every district. Their main office is right bordering on the Imperial Palace, Imperial Palace on the Imperator's Lane, because technically they're the bodyguards of the Emperor.
So, we're gonna need to take a stroll that way.
Okay. Which way do you go? You're roughly here, on Wall Street, between your house and Alexius Way.
We'll just go through Wall Street because it's the fastest.
Okay.
That's where all the money is.
Although, what's funny is that in Bezos, Wall Road runs from the very edge of the Galatian Wall, where it meets the sea, all the way around. Pandora, that really fucking hurts. She just decided to climb my leg. Like,
I can hear her drinking too. Is she drinking whiskey? What's happening?
No, I think that's SD.
yeah.
Oh, that's SD's dog? Okay. Like, that sounded really vicious. Not vicious, but just aggressive for a cat.
So you pass through some noble neighborhoods, and you get some scowls and some rude comments from nobles that are also out walking
I
their
wave,
pets.
I bow. I give a nice, like, you know, like the hand, like, curtsy bow, fuck you thing.
I'm reminded of Telltale games where you do something kind of shitty and the game's like, so and so will remember that.
Yeah. All I want to do is walk my goddamn Albert.
So you
I wasn't
reach.
looking for a fight.
So Wall Road eventually reaches this point where it meets the harbor tower, and then it turns north to meet Imperator's Lane. And below you can see the Imperial Harbor, where right now there's only one ship docked, and it seems to be some sort of pleasure ship. It's a barge that has its own miniature garden that seems to be irrigated with fresh water in it, a palace, and several statues of leaping youths. It's all gilded all to hell. But that's not where you're going. Ahead of you, Wall Road meets Imperator's Lane, and to your right, where the road flows into the Imperial Palace, which has its own walls and its own gates and its own guards. Just outside of those gates are two structures, and on the left you see a sign that designates this as the Praetorian Barracks. And that, for people looking at the map, is right there.
Is there a front? Give me a picture. Is there a front door?
Yeah. So it looks like it's a. It looks like, so on the road itself, it looks like there's a sort of a small office with a front door, and then sort of stretching back from that towards the Path of Glory is a multi-story utilitarian building with regularly spaced windows.
Door.
Yeah, there is. It faces onto Imperator's Lane.
Is there anybody outside the front door?
There does seem to be a guard just sort of keeping an eye on traffic. It looks almost like he's almost on backup gate duty for the Imperial Palace itself. Sort of watching and tallying who approaches and maybe turns around rather than who goes up and gets turned around or gets admitted.
That's inconvenient.
And he looks at you and give me an insight check.
I rolled an 11, and my insight is 14.
You get the sense that he recognizes you, and that there's something more than that, but that's all you're getting from him, is that he definitely recognizes you.
But why?
Well, I mean,
Do I recognize him?
It's they. This is gonna sound
They
really
all
bad.
look the same to me?
They all look the same when they're in their armor. Like, isn't that the whole point of a fucking uniform? It's in the name, right?
I take the duffel bag and
What's in the duffel bag?
poop,
What do you think?
Oh,
poop, and I dump it out on the front door.
he looks shocked and appalled, and
I bow and I curtsy and I walk away.
he's
A gift
he
for the city
sight.
guy.
I shove my papers in it. No, kidding. I don't do that.
You have copies, right?
I need
You could just
those.
roll one up and put it in there like a flag.
Right. I need those. I just dump it out and I walk out. I walk away.
He shouts at you.
What?
I was about to say, and then you interrupted me, and now I lost my train of thought.
It's always my fault.
You can't just leave that there. You know how many regulations you're breaking? Health codes, respect to the Emperor codes, respect to the Praetorian Guard codes. If you don't come back here and pay the fine, I will not be responsible for the consequences.
How much is the fine?
I'll have to tally that up. If you come into the office, we can go over it.
No. I'm good.
This is your last chance.
You just tell me how much it is right now. Come on.
We're all gonna get arrested.
So he,
Simple math.
I'm gonna have to bail you all out.
All,
with the 4
all I
gold
wanted to
have.
do was walk my goddamn owlbear. That's it.
that's 300 gold.
Oof.
Is that it?
I was honestly expecting like 25.
Is that it?
It's 100 gold for disrespecting the Imperial Gate. It's 100 gold for disrespecting the Praetorian Guard. It's 100 gold for the health code violation for leaving fecal matter in a publicly traveled space. I could add another 100 gold for insubordination to a Praetorian Guard.
Insubordination.
Yes, you're being rude. Is that a word you understand?
Do you think this is rude? You want to be rude? I can do.
You're certainly not being polite. We're just a bunch of guys trying to do our jobs, and we're told to check up to make sure that a dangerous animal has its papers, and by God, we're going to do that. You don't have to make our lives difficult.
300 gold out of my pocket, and I throw it in the poop.
Saw that coming.
And I bow and I curtsy and I walk.
The Praetorian Guard will remember that. So after you
Oh my god.
after you light a poop fire on the doorstep of the Imperial Guard, what do you do?
Continue our walk.
So do you go back up Imperator's Lane to the Path of Glory? Or do you back down Wall Street? Wall
No,
Road?
yeah. Go back up. I don't want to double back.
Okay.
Actually, let's go. What's in the square? Is it just empty?
Imperator Square is usually empty. It's sort of a gathering place. The Senate will frequently talk out there when they're not officially
Oh,
in
yeah,
in session. If the Emperor is giving an address, it'll happen there. The Praetorian Guard will sometimes assemble there.
I'll take Fozzie back home, but I'm gonna have to. I don't know. Set up some security in the house because I have a feeling they're gonna try and take Fozzie away.
Okay, so you're heading down the
I may
path.
have fucked up.
You're heading down the Path of Glory. It's about 10 in the morning, and you reach the sort of the square at the intersection of the Path of Glory and Alexius Way. Roll me your perception check. Bayard, also roll me your perception check. Bayard, you probably have advantage.
I have advantage.
Yes.
I rolled a 15.
Okay.
I also rolled a 15 and an 11. We'll take the 15.
Okay. So Kiki
Well, I got 19
notices.
total.
Kiki notices a dwarf in chainmail with. You would still have part of that pony keg, right? Because you only gave the dude a glass, right?
Yeah, I only give him a little
Okay.
glass.
Holding a cask of ale, kind of looking around like he's trying to get his bearings. Bayard, you see coming down the Path of Glory, strolling with an unusual spring in her step, a red-headed halfling leading a gray and silver owlbear. The owlbear seems to be looking around, just super excited to see everything around it, almost like a puppy.
I'm ahoy, Kiki!
Hey, I know you.
It is I, Bayard. How have you been?
Good. How's it going? Where you been?
At the temple, waiting on you guys. Where have you been?
Oh, I bought a house.
You bought a house,
Yeah, this is right over here. They bought a house.
huh?
Yeah.
Excellent.
cool? Yeah.
Yes, in this such a fine district as well.
Oh yeah. Nothing but the best. You can come hang
excellent.
out if you want.
That would be great. I would love to see the place.
Yeah, come on in.
So she leads you down Alexius Way and through this sort of nice neighborhood to that 3-story house with the courtyard.
So, how are your adventures going? Have you found what you needed in the city?
You know, just a few people off. So yeah, I think we're doing good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you plan to adventure out soon, or are we staying a while?
I think. Well, I mean, I bought a house, so
True.
stay at least like a week.
Well, excellent. Keep me updated on the next travels. I feel honored to
You
assist
want to come with?
I absolutely. I feel honored to assist you.
Dude, awesome.
You guys brought me to this city. By chance, I was looking to get a loan, and I mean, I don't know if you have anything left, but
A loan for what?
I'm looking to build a wagon so that I can brew on the road.
Dude, that'd be awesome. Why?
Yes, so we can share the blessings of Matheon to everyone.
Uh,
I mean, huh?
does that mean like share your booze with everybody?
Well, yes, of course.
Oh,
Everyone must partake.
that sounds awesome.
So
Free?
might you have the coin?
Wait, are you passing booze out for free?
Yes. Blessings are always for free.
How do you make money then?
Well, usually by the grace of Amathion, money is not a huge issue.
Seems to be.
I
an
mean,
issue
she
right
has
now.
brought me to. She has brought me to
Oh,
Amathion has brought me to you.
Oh, right.
I believe that's how religion works.
Sounds right.
So,
So
I mean,
you're
if you-
you're looking for money to give people booze.
yes.
I need details.
Well, I have no others. I just need a cart so that I may travel,
yeah,
brew
cart.
while I'm traveling.
What's
I'm-
that gonna
I'm
set you
hoping-
back?
I could build one for you.
You know, honestly, I haven't. I was looking for the loan first. Probably a bad way to go.
How much are you looking for here?
Oh, I only a meager sum, maybe 20 coin. I'd imagine get me a small enough one to brew
Seriously,
upon.
that's it? 20 coin?
Why not? I don't need much, just enough to put my brewing supplies on, and so they stay stable.
Alright, well, here's the deal. If we give you this 20 coin, I'm gonna need booze
I can supply you with booze.
without the Jesus lecture.
I do not know of this Jesus.
What's your god?
Does he like to partake in booze as well?
What's your god?
Amathion.
Amathion. Without the Amathion lecture.
I can do that.
Just the booze, none of the talking.
Well, I can't say that I wouldn't talk. I mean, obviously, I'm a man of.
No talking. Just the booze.
Also, by any chance, I have heard of some troubles in some of the farmlands. I was going to go check it out. Perhaps you and some of your comrades would like to join me.
What's happening in the farmlands?
I've heard the crops are going bad. I believe it has something to do with a lord. His name is. Where did my notes go? His name is Fuck Off. Focus.
Voltes?
Lord Focus.
Focus!
I like to
is it-
think that Bert's in the middle of his reading room, looks up from a text out of the blue, and is like, "Focus, focus, focus." Sparrow
I
pops her
like
head in. Yes, can I help you, sir?
Bert,
Having a conversation.
is Bert in the house?
Yeah.
No, I think Bert. We didn't establish it, but I think Bert was heading to the Imperial Library like first thing. Actually,
thing,
Shane,
yeah, totally.
but I don't want to like decide that for you, Shane. So what would Bert's day look like?
He would have headed there, and he would have,
Okay.
copied down a whole bunch of stuff. But let's continue with this this transaction.
Well, last I heard, Lord Fuck Off is fucked off.
Whatever do you mean?
He's fucked off this mortal coil. That's what I mean.
To the next dimension.
He's dead.
He's dead. Well, I
Case
guess
solved, gang. Problem solved.
I wouldn't say that solves our problem. The crops are still not growing.
Oh,
I was curious to see if he had anything to do with it. Apparently, he has bought his way onto these farmlands for these poor folk,
oh.
and I wish to have speak with him, but I've guessed since he's dead.
Yeah,
How long has he been dead, by chance?
Caleb.
It's like 20.
2
Was
nights.
it
2 nights.
Oh, 20.
It's been 2 days.
By any chance, do you know where the body is?
Kai's very interested in that information as well.
Body parts.
I may
I
know
mumbled
a,
something about where I left it.
I know a trick or two. It may give me some information from him.
Solid question. I don't know how to answer.
If someone hadn't pissed off the city watch.
Who, me?
I think there were 2 of you that did that.
Oh, Jesus Christ. All they had to do was leave me alone.
I'm pretty sure I
Your
can go talk to the
profile.
Imperial Watch. They're not pissed off at me, are they?
I didn't do anything.
No, they're not pissed off at Bayard. They're on the hunt for a balding wood elf, who was masturbating in public and then ran up the side of a building.
And then assaulted one of the guards.
And then they're just sort of generally irritated with a certain halfling.
All right.
Just a
Well,
nuisance.
this I do not know as Bayard, so
Correct. You don't know any of this. Like,
right. Well, perhaps you would like to assist me finding the body.
Sure, we'll get the gang together.
Excellent.
okay.
Oh, and
By the way, that coin.
here's I'll give you 30. Get yourself something nice.
Oh, blessed be.
Mob boss Kiki.
But
By the way, that
remember what we
loan's going to
talked.
be in.
Remember what we talked about. Booze.
Next thing
Right.
you know,
Boo-
Bayard, you're going to be moving drugs through the Temple of Amathion, hidden in ale casks.
in the cart. And you want me to shove this in my butt?
Yeah. Yes, I
I
do.
can't see how this helps, but I will help a friend.
Way up there.
Keep going.
Do you want to get hard? Because this is how you get hard.
I've got 30 balloons of cocaine up my butt.
God, I
So-
hope one of them doesn't pop.
So Kai, let's check back in with you.
You're not going to go with Bert?
I guess we can,
I'm
yeah.
having fun here.
Bert's at the library. There's not a lot going on there.
Yeah, I'm more interested to hear about what the public nuisance is doing.
I do like the idea that Bert has been like assimilating, flowing with the bureaucracy, getting done what he wants to do within the law, and then he comes home and it's like, so yeah, we need to put extra security up around the house. Like,
Because Kai turned into Louis C.K. and then Kiki smeared the guardhouse with poop.
in Kai's defense, he wasn't forcing anyone to watch him. He was just doing it.
But when they came up, he didn't stop. He's just
But, like,
hello.
He didn't corner someone and be like, look at this. Look what I can do.
No, he just jerked off, ran up a wall, and then pierced some poor guy in the shoulder with his own arrow. Or his partner's arrow.
So yeah, I guess we can do the library real quick. So
And then he ruined lunch.
yeah, that's probably what they're most mad about.
Cutting out.
My potatoes!
More fish stew.
He got his essence in my stew.
Oh,
I was going to say
in the turtle soup.
things I was telling the fish.
Yeah,
What was
I feel like this is DVD commentary. Just so you guys know, this is what I was saying to the fish.
There's plenty of fish in the sea. Careful not to catch crabs.
To me, I like to think that
if you
Kai.
think-
Oh, go ahead.
If you think of a better fish pun,
I can't.
let me know. Let me know.
Okay, that gets rid of my headcanon. My headcanon is that Kai doesn't really have a sense of humor. He's just earnestly telling the fish there are plenty in the sea. Don't get crabs.
They pinch.
But then he whips out a pun, and it's like, okay, no, Kai really does have a sense of humor.
Brief flashes of self-awareness.
Kai goes to the morgue.
Okay,
All right.
roll me an investigation check.
Oh, Kai, let me.
First, he disguises himself
As what?
as
A monk.
tall halfling.
Does he get a merkin for his feet?
Picks up a pipe somewhere, puts a slouch hat on, starts talking in a Yorkshire accent.
Here's a performance roll. 10.
Is disguise self still a skill?
There's
I
deception.
had it as
So-
maybe deception.
So deception's what I want.
Deception.
or
yeah.
perform. I don't know. Whatever.
I'm gonna go with deception.
16.
Okay. So oddly enough, you're able to pull this off. You disguise yourself as a. Do you have a disguise kit?
No.
So how do you do this transformation?
Mud and twigs.
And fish parts.
Oh.
God.
So essentially, you still look like you. You're just so rank and filthy that no one wants to take a close enough look at you to figure out if you're telling the truth about who you are. And you're able to walk the streets pretty well unaccosted because, again, no one wants to get close to you.
He's the new Zerf.
You've been rolling in fish guts.
You're like a stray dog.
I can't find anything.
No, so you sort of wander around the city at random. This is all terribly confusing. You're a wood elf. Like, the forest makes sense. Cities don't. And I actually would like to think that you would spend a lot of time around the lake in the forest, because that's where you would bury someone.
Okay.
I mean, as a wood elf. I don't know Kai specifically. I don't think anyone knows Kai specifically.
Do I happen to find a dead body in the lake?
I'm going to regret this, I'm sure, but... who hasn't done a high or low recently? Will? Will, high or low?
okay. Low.
Kai, you do not find a dead body in the lake.
Ah, dang it! I knew I should.
Kai, you can't even find any fish in the lake. Dead fish, that is. It's stocked with live fish, but no dead fish.
Okay.
So Kai wanders around for a while. We'll come back to him in a minute. Bert, you're back in the library. After your first day of research, you're able to discern. There were certain magical researchers early on in the Empire's history, roughly the same time as the Empress Irene, who commissioned that mosaic in the entryway. One of her magical researchers, who actually helped found the Academy in Nessus, had a real interest in this weird curse that was on the beyond the fringes of the Empire. Essentially, so that to get into a little bit of the sort of society around Bezos, and I'm going to switch over to the other map to give you guys a little bit of a visual here. So the Bezos the empire that Bezos founded, sort of at its furthest extent, included Troya, Kaffa, Nessus, Epiros, and then this sort of region up until these mountains here. The city here, Dara, was was frequently sort of traded back and forth between it and the city of Ctesiphon down here on the at the junction of these two rivers, which also had sort of its own empire. Currently, it's Bezos, Nessus, the peninsulas they're on, and they sort of have Troya and Epiros in like a vassal state sort of situation. So the empire has declined since its peak. With the Empress Irene, it was pretty much just Troya, Epiros, and Bezos. Nessus didn't exist yet, and they hadn't really stretched over into the east. And like I said, Kaffa is kind of new-ish. So this particular researcher, and so beyond their own borders, things start to get hazy. They can rely on news from Damashq and Ctesiphon. News from Minakar and Karst, little less reliable, but still you can kind of count on it being true because the trade routes are relatively secure and reliable. But it takes a while for news to get through, so it's usually outdated if it is accurate. Beyond, and I really wish I could remember the name of this fucking town, the town where you guys first arrived on the plate. Beyond that, it's pretty much hearsay.
Is that the one where we couldn't really leave for a while until we... Yeah.
Yeah. As of this current sort of age and date, or as of when Irene was living, anything sort of east of Nessus, or where Nessus is now, was beyond their ken, and it was the realm of speculation and rumor. And so this particular magical researcher was interested in all of these stories, and so he had written a treatise on what he discovered with the crystal waste. So he had taken various precautions, but you get the sense he had like taken some of the crystals and planted them a few feet out and observed as they grew and sort of looked at where they grew, where they didn't, and it's all pretty much what you had figured out on your own. That they don't, they don't seem to like deep water. Being immersed in water slows or completely halts their growth. They grow at a pretty steady rate, and it's very easy to transplant them if you don't take proper quarantine and decontamination procedures. He didn't mention anything about people themselves becoming overrun, probably because he maintained a pretty good quarantine for himself and his group.
Does that... Sorry.
Go ahead.
Does that crystal waste expand on the map?
That crystal waste that's on the map is the borders when you guys encountered it.
Okay.
And actually, even after your guys' misadventures with the crystals, they're still so small that they wouldn't necessarily appear on this map. So the city of Karst is pretty much done. It's uninhabitable. If you guys are curious about what has happened with this infestation since you guys left, that would be something you guys would need to investigate. But as of last you knew, Karst was pretty fucked, and people were starting to flee it in droves.
Okay.
Oh, damn.
So while you're in the middle of your reading on the second day, Sparrow has indicated she comes in on day 2 and she says, "Your reading list yesterday was most fascinating. I had never heard of that phenomenon. That is This is good information to know. I'm curious as to what caused it. Would you happen to know? Like, what drew you to that research in particular?
Well, I heard of some talk at a bar in the city of Karst.
Oh, how recently were you in Karst? We haven't had recent news from there in
Oh, it
months.
was a few weeks ago. It's in a bad shape right now. I have reason to believe that this crystal curse here may have showed up in Karst, so we got out as soon as we could.
Oh, that matches some of the stories that I've heard as well. And I was
Yeah.
things that happen so far away, you're never quite sure what the truth of them is.
You cut out a little bit. I couldn't hear all of it. Sorry.
She said, things that happen so far away, it is hard to tell what the truth of them really is.
That's true. A lot. Yeah. When you play telephone, some things get a little muddled in the transmission between people. You know what I'm saying? Mittens?
I do.
Sparrow, yeah.
I do understand, even though I do not know what a telephone is.
I'm sure we'll figure one out. Yeah.
What is on your reading list today? What can I go find for you in the stacks?
So since that was kind of a dead end, I'm thinking of rival ancient gods that might cross-reference into this crystal phenomenon. And mostly what I mean, like at a game, I'm trying to figure out why my book here, the entity that is my book, is so averse and so dead set against destroying this crystal waste, the entity that kind
Okay.
of like embodies it.
Okay. I will see what I can dig up. And she bows, and same thing. Puts the doorknob on, opens the door, slips out, closes the door, removing the doorknob in the process.
Well, okay, so one thing that might speed up the process of me doing this, transcribing things, if I get my familiar out
Uh-huh.
and I turn him into something that can hold like a quill or something,
Yeah.
like maybe a frog or I don't know, an owl, put it in its beak so it can write down stuff. Would that? I mean, it's a
Frog.
fake creature. Yeah.
Roll me an Arcana.
Frog.
It's, 22.
It writes even faster than you.
Oh shit. Okay, great.
Like, it's a fucking blur across the page. I am going to say it takes a little while for you to sort of get it to do what you want it to do. There's some fits and starts here. Roll me a perception
Good
check.
Good old-fashioned 80s montage of me trying to get the crab to hold the pen. No, like this. No, feather up. Sorry, what was it?
Perception.
Okay. 25.
All right. You become aware of someone slipping into the room from the side that you usually enter into.
So say, am I sitting in a chair?
I would think so, while trying to teach your crab how to hold a pen.
Is that a swivel chair?
Sure.
So I lean back and I put my hands in kind of like a pyramid shape, like the finger pyramids,
Uh-huh.
and I turn towards the door and say hello.
And you see a dragonborn, blue scales, in white and blue silks, and sort of silver rings and earring or jewelry.
And I look at the ring that was it a ring that I took?
They would have given you a ring, to contact, like as a sort of a sigil.
And I look at it. Is it glowing? Like, did he summon me?
As I recall, it wasn't so much a summons thing as it was sort of an identifier. Like, it was sort of the secret handshake or whatever, was that all of the people who sort of worked with him and had his favor all had this same ring with the same sigil, which I think was a dragon in flight.
Okay, here we go. All right. I can hear you again.
Okay.
So I don't know how much you heard of me or what.
I heard you
I
say
cut
that you
out-
checked your ring.
Yeah. Okay. So I didn't know if because I know if he wanted to talk, it would glow, right?
And I'm probably misremembering here, but I seem to recall it was more of an identifier of his other people would recognize you as one of his friends, and you would recognize others as his friends based on the ring.
Okay. I have written down here. We'll change color when Sultan Azra communicates with us
Okay, so
or communes with us.
okay, so it could be that he put in the ability to speak with you directly, but it also has this other function as being sort of a
Oh, okay.
secret handshake. And that's sort
Oh,
of what happens is you kind of look at your ring, and he kind of holds up his clawed hand, and you see the same ring.
Should I go across the room and fist bump?
And I'm going to have him roll an insight.
Sapphire Bros.
Uh,
Sapphire Twins power.
he
Activate.
kind of sees you, kind of looking at your hand, looking at him, kind of trying to decide whether to get up, and he goes, "Please don't get up."
Okay. So
Our
it's a blue?
mutual, yeah. Our mutual friend was surprised that you had arrived in Bezos. Last we had heard you were in Karst, and we were worried that you had perished in the troubles there.
No, we got out of that pretty well.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. You're looking well.
We're trying to figure out a solution to it. Kind of what I'm doing right now.
He thinks that it's probably going to be small in the grand scheme of things, but whatever you feel like doing. He just wanted me to check in and make sure that you were well, you had everything you needed, you were well situated within the city.
Nah.
The Dragonborn explains that he says, "Our mutual friend asked me to check in on you and make sure that you are well situated within the city and you have everything you need."
As far as I know, I'm good. I mean, it would be cool if I got some access to this place, but I mean, I haven't run into any roadblocks so far.
Unfortunately, the Imperials are very careful with their library. Nope, I just saw it. There's something about
You.
it's my tone of voice. I just watched as my mic quit picking up, so I think it's something wrong with my mic.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'll move it closer to my mouth. Because I noticed it was when I was trailing off on a syllable, that's when it would sort of cut out. But
Oh.
I happened to be watching Discord, and it was blinking out. So he says, he says the Imperials are very careful with their archives. The only ones who get access are their trained, appointed librarians and research assistants. Everyone else has to go through intermediaries.
How do you become one of these trained research assistants? Is that like a lifelong pursuit?
I don't know. I'm just a humble soldier of fortune who has a mutual friend with you. Mutual friend with you. Okay, it's something just wrong with the mic in general then. Which is good to know.
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
Wait,
no.
am I using...
No, Shane, I'm looking at Discord, watching as I talk,
Yeah.
and that time it just flat out cut out in the middle of what I was saying. So I think that my headset is bad.
Okay.
Which, that's always fun to know.
Bummer, dude.
Anyways,
Whatever. Yeah, whatever.
let's finish up this episode.
All right.
He explains that. So he goes. Unfortunately, I'm just a mere soldier of fortune. I know nothing about the way the Imperials do this sort of thing. I would think that you'd be like any trade where you'd be an apprentice and then a journeyman, and over the span of a ridiculous amount of time, you would eventually be trusted to actually do the job.
That's kind of what I figured, but I was hoping maybe there was a shortcut. Anyway. thanks for coming by. I appreciate the Sultan's concern.
Of course.
Get up there and slap his hand a couple times. Like try to do like a white guy trying to do like a black guy handshake. Just making an ass out of my.
He looks really confused, but also tactful enough that he's not going to stop you.
And then I do the finger guns and say, "See you later, Blue. Thanks for stopping by." Pow, 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 pow.
Too little.
And he slips back out the door again. So I'm gonna say that Kai, in his wanderings, bumps into Bert as Bert's heading home at the end of the day.
Hey, Kai, you smell like shit. What did you do?
You don't want to know.
It's me, man. I want to know.
But I need to get these parts.
What? What? You're covered in fish talking about parts. Man, come on. Let's go to Kiki's house and get you washed up.
Okay.
Take him outside with the hose.
Totally. I'm gonna have Fozzie lick him down. Cause it couldn't get worse.
It won't hurt.
Here, Kai, have a wood sickle.
So as you're walking back to the house, you do get stopped by a city watchman who says, "Excuse me, sir, do you have papers for that animal?"
Oh, this is my friend. He had a bad run-in with a garbage cart.
Is that
So.
is that an elf under there?
Yeah.
Oh,
Kind of
yes.
like.
Oh,
kinda like me.
be on your way. Oh, ugh, it's in my mouth.
Yeah, it's that smell. You're probably gonna have to burn that outfit. It's everywhere, man.
Don't bring his ass inside.
So,
Got the hose him down in your bedroom.
so at the end of 2
Wipe him
episodes,
down in your silk sheets.
the gang, minus an
Get out of
unconscious
my house.
Zerf, is finally reunited.
So
And Zerf's cleaner than I am.
Actually, we'll just keep you dirty and then have you not shave for like a month.
Start calling you Zerf. So when Zerf wakes up, he's very confused.
Where's my axe? Zerf has it.
So yeah, do you guys have any information you want to share with each other? You're sort of all under the same roof again.
Fozzie pooped on the guard's doorstep.
Okay, so then at this point,
I say in passing.
at this
I
point, I make myself a little cup of tea, sit down at the dinner table, and I start drinking it. I'm like, tell me everything.
I reluctantly ask Kiki for help.
So who has warrants?
Not yet. Yeah. It's
might
just some owlbear poop.
They might be looking for me.
I am
Civil complaints?
shocked.
Out of curiosity, Amy, what's Fozzie's diet been since arriving in the city?
We've been here 3 days, so just like market meat.
Okay, so he's not like fending for himself, eating rodents or whatever.
No. Go for a walk. We stop at the market. We get some meat, piss off the neighbors. We shit on their lawn.
You give him
The
10
whole
minutes in
thing.
the local schoolyard to eat. And then
Right.
he leaves.
We stop by the park. The child goes missing. Things happen.
The usual.
So in his poop, are there little child bones?
Yeah, they're little like an owl. He just picks up the bone.
Just a lump of kid bones.
This is such a gruesome show.
No, he does not eat children.
I am utterly appalled as a cleric of Amathion. This is disgusting.
It's a joke. He doesn't eat kids.
Just the fact of how you've treated these poor people in this lovely town who have accepted us. This is
What? Except us, my ass. Nobody likes the owlbear.
Yeah, right. They won't let Kai jerk off in public. They don't like owlbear poop on their front
They
step.
don't accept us for who we are.
I'm appalled.
Oh,
I
there's-
will have to.
There's the poster
No,
quote for this episode. They won't let Kai jack off in public, and they won't like owlbear poop on their lawn.
Be who you are. Never go off in public. Don't let the man get you down.
Oh well. So
Kai
I would
hides
like to bring
himself
up
in shame.
the.
What'd you say?
I said Kai hides himself in shame.
You should.
I had no idea you felt that.
Is it because you asked for help?
No, because I'm so dirty.
Oh, there. This house is equipped with running water
How does it get running water?
because there's a whole city of fucking mages just across the way. They
Because I
take
paid for that shit.
yeah. So the nicer
Take
houses
it.
have magic to basically pipe water in using portals and out. Magical plumbing.
Indoor toilets.
Now you're thinking with portals.
Now you're shitting with portals.
This is true. That too.
Now
Oh,
you're
there's your
shitting
10
with
p.m. dog bark, Caleb.
Yep.
Lovely.
You have a 10 p.m. dog bark?
Last night I was up playing Final Fantasy, and like from 10 to 11 there was this dog somewhere in the complex just every 5 seconds. Woof!
It's
Woof.
a big dog, too.
Woof!
Yeah.
Yeah.
What Final Fantasy?
15.
That's good, isn't it?
I'm still a ways in.
I like it. I haven't really gotten that far. It's just
Once we're done recording, I have
Okay.
some things I'll share with you that I already shared with David.
okay.
So
Sorry.
you guys, yeah, you're all around the table. Kai, you do have the option to bathe. I think Kiki got a big enough house
He
for
does
everyone.
not have the option.
He will bathe.
Bathe or get out.
I bathe.
Okay. So,
Get my sheen back on.
I think that rather than trying to close on a cliffhanger, for a change, I want to close on a happy note as the misfits of the Chaotic Neutral crew. Sorry, Bayard's not really a misfit, but he's lumped in with these guys anyways.
Give him a minute.
Yeah, he's fine now, but in a month you're gonna find out that he's a cannibal or something. It's the rule of the teens, the late teens in America, that anything good can't last. It will turn out to be shit. It's actually, I guess, an Australian dictionary actually put the phrase "milkshake duck" in to describe this meme of here's 2017 in a nutshell. Hey, look, there's this duck that's drinking a milkshake. Oh, that's awesome. 3 days later, we regret to inform you that duck is racist. Like, so anyways, the crew of Chaotic Neutral, the Chaotic Neutral gang crew, whatever, these guys, they've reconvened at Kiki's house. Fozzie is curled up in the backyard, super happy that he's been running and getting to see this whole new city full of exciting people that, maybe one day he'll get to eat. And
You just pick one out, buddy.
and as everyone's sort of planning and scheming the things they want to accomplish, we'll go ahead and call it a day as they call it a night, and we'll figure out what happens next on the next episode of the Chaotic Neutral Podcast. I have been your Dungeon Master, Caleb. If you liked any of that, you can find us at soundcloud.com/cndnd or on your podcast RSS feed service of choice as the Chaotic Neutral Podcast. There are a couple of them out there now, which I was surprised to see, but we should be the one with the most episodes, and ours is a yellow thumbnail with a bunch of people attacking a D20 that says Chaotic Neutral. And I think we're the only live play D&D podcast on there, so I don't know why these other fuckers are going with Chaotic Neutral. I also realize I've been cutting out for a whole bunch of that shit.
He's cool, bro.
Did at least the URL for our SoundCloud go through?
It did, yeah. It
Okay. Will, you have our Twitch info.
I do. You can find us on Twitch at twitch.tv/chaotic neutral DND.
And Shane, you have our Facebook, yeah?
Yeah, you can find updates on our latest uploads at facebook.com/cndnd.
Excuse me. Of course the burp goes through. David, you should have our Twitter, yeah?
Yep, where you can find quotes of the week.
Are you curating that?
I don't know. Quotes of the episodes
I know which one this is going to have.
at CNDND cast.
And finally, Amy, tell us about the Instagram.
We have an Instagram. It's Chaotic Neutral D&D, and occasionally I'll post something funny.
Like hijacking off in the public.
I'll get right on that.
Will, draw that.
I have it.
Got it. It's already done. It's here on my notebook.
That's on Hentai Foundry. That's against.
Oh,
As a separate link.
we have another.
We have an. Find us on Hentai Foundry. Rule 23.
Got a DeviantArt account and
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that's against Instagram's terms of service.
As long as there are no boobs, nobody seems to.
Huh.
Well, boobs are just, that's unacceptable.
Mhm.
Boobs will destroy civilization.
Right.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. It's been fun. We drank way too much whiskey tonight.
No such.
So these last two episodes have been pretty RP heavy. We'll try to balance that with a little more combat in the next few episodes.
Oh, thank God.
Until next time, keep it chaotic.
Bye-bye.
Later.
Bye now.